Hello and welcome to this week's show. I'm Paul Callan. Modern Tyres have opened a new facility in Newry. They spent £5.5 million on this facility, and it's a separate division. It's going to be Modern Tyres, or Modern Wheel Solutions is the name of that division. It's going to provide services to the tyre manufacturers and to the OE manufacturers. It's a massive facility. We were in it back in 2021 for the Ulster Rally, because they run the Ulster Rally out of that facility while it was being built. And it just felt like being inside an aircraft hangar. That was my impression of it, because we were inside in it because it wasn't completely finished and they were doing scrutiny for the rally cars in there. Incredible facility. The company was started in 1965 by Jimmy Byrne. Jimmy just passed away in June gone. He started off with one depot, and they currently operate out of 48 depots and employ 200 people. And there's going to be 25 new jobs in that facility in Newry. Really great success story. Irish company. When you look at some of the bigger tyre fitting facilities in Ireland, some of them are owned by the tyre manufacturers, Continental and Bridgestone, for example. But this is an Irish company, Irish owned, and they own all those facilities. So it's not a tyre company. It's not a big corporation. It's an Irish operation, and a hell of an operation at that. Renault. We spoke about this story before. It's coming up here and there with other manufacturers. Toyota have been mentioned in this regard as well. But there's a press release from Renault this week that says they are going to roll out their used car sales facilities globally. It's going to be under Renew is going to be the name of the outlets. They're going to sell petrol, diesel, hybrid, EV under the Renew brand. Still struggling to understand this, still struggling to understand why the dealers are getting involved in the sale of vehicles. But yeah, this was spoke about, but Renault seem to be going to the next stage. So it's going to be interesting to watch this space and see how that evolves. It's to do with all the issues, warranty issues and problems and customer complaints is where I find it's going to be very difficult how they're going to cope with those. But remains to be seen. Gasoline demand from this year forward is going to drop in America. Yeah, each year from now on, America will consume less gasoline. And that's incredible. The car capital, the car mecca, the home of the car, going to consume less gasoline. Obviously not because there's less cars, but because there's going to be less cars that are internal combustion engines. They're predicting that the consumption of gasoline in America is going to drop by 1% next year to 8.74 million barrels. Between 2022 and 2027, get this, gasoline consumption they predict is going to drop by 15%, 1.4 million barrels. The problem with this is this could actually increase the price of fuel because it will create instability in the crude oil market. So you could end up with shortages or price spikes because the producers of oil won't be happy with this and will want to try and play around with the supply in order to maintain a good price for themselves. So even though there's going to be less used, it could create turmoil in the market. But again, an interesting statistic to say that America will use less gasoline from now on. And a story that kind of links to this, when you look at it, is another American story, which is Hertz have launched an EV fleet. So the rental company, not necessarily all renters, could well be lease vehicles to companies as well. They're currently developing up their fleet with Tesla, Polestar and GM models. They hope to have it up to 5,200 EVs this year. And they're rolling it out in 2 American states at the moment, but from there on they're going to roll it out in all their depots right across America. So again, this is probably going to bridge the gap a little bit, where a consumer that's a little bit skeptical of electric might hire a car for a weekend or for a week and then like the product and then end up buying it. So it's going to possibly assist in the sales of EVs also. Mercedes-Benz in Germany. will pay each employee €7,300 bonus this year as a result of their profit share scheme. The company has had a very, very strong financial year, and 93,000 workers are going to receive €7,300 each. This is the highest bonus ever paid out, and the profit sharing program started back in 1997. So again, interesting, because we heard that the car sales were down, the volumes were down, but the profits are up. It looks like the manufacturers are making better money, making more money, due to the fact that there's more demand in the market, as opposed to meeting that demand and having excess demand and then having to drop the price. Shell has bought an EV charging network in America. It's bought Volta for $169 million. Volta have got 3,000 chargers across America in 31 states. So again, and this is, every day I listen to it, everybody says, electric's not going to work, there's not enough charging stations. And that's true in Ireland, it's true in every economy in the world. But when you see companies like Shell investing $169 million in a charging facilities, the writing has to be on the wall. They're saying, right, our normal conventional gas stations, again linked to our other story where gasoline is declining, so you can see the links on these stories here to say that, yeah, this EV thing looks like it's coming, guys. It is pretty serious, because when you see a company like Shell so strongly associated with internal combustion engines related to gasoline, petrol, diesel, and they're saying, right, we're going to buy this network because we need to stay in the game, and this is how they're going to stay in the game. There's about 150,000 company cars in Ireland, and right now a lot of company car owners are trying to hand back their cars, or the companies are trying to give them back to the lease companies, because there's been massive changes in the benefit in kind tax structure here in Ireland since January. So right now a Tucson that was costing in 2022 costing roughly €98 a month in benefit in kind is now gone to €294 a month. So obviously people that might have been budgeting and budgeting very tightly with the company vehicle included in that budget now find that that budget's been blown out by almost €200 a month. So it's a massive issue. Now think about this as far as the independent repair sector is concerned. This could possibly be a bonus for the independent repair sector, because so many of these people are handing back their company cars, but they still need transport. So you're going to find that they're going to buy private cars. So it's more likely that the private car will come to the smaller independent workshop, because a lot of that fleet product would have been going to the dealer workshops. So there's going to be a slight change in the volumes of business, or where the volumes of business go in this sector. So it'll be interesting to watch to see if the independent workshops start to pick up some extra business as a result of the company car driver no longer being a company car driver. MG has outsold Mitsubishi and Hyundai in Australia. So MG, of course not being the old British brand, but being the new Chinese brand, SAIC, are the company that own MG. But a massive achievement. It's only for 1 month, only for the month of December. They've reached number 5 overall in the car sales in Australia. Now, what I find astonishing about this as well is that really there's a new Labour government in Australia, and up to that you had a government that wasn't particularly was almost anti-environmental. So the change in Australia has been rapid, and certainly the growth of MG suggests that the product is pretty okay, and that the customers are certainly starting to adopt to electric in a big way in Australia. Keeping with electric, Mercedes, who took me a while to get my head around this, that they had a new brand called the EQ brand, which was actually the electric range. I never fully understood why they created this EQ brand, but they're scrapping it. So they're no longer going to define the electric range separately within the Mercedes vehicle range. They're going to phase out the EQ brand. So the next gen EVs towards the end of 2024 will not have the EQ brand, and they're saying based on the phasing out of ICE, there's no need for them to define between EQ and internal combustion engines. So again, maybe there's a suggestion that they're confident that EV is going to be a strong standalone product, and the brand can stay on that completely, not diluted with the EQ brand. A sad story for me, because I would be a Renault Sport fan. Renault Sport logo is going to be seen for the last time this year on the new Megane RS. Renault Sport logo first came out back in 1976, which I presume was probably only on the Renault 5. But performance products from Renault going forward now will be under the Alpine brand. So they're not going to have the performance range within the Renault. So I don't know whether that means they're going to call a Clio or a Megane an Alpine, but Alpine's going to be looking after the performance range, not coming under the Renault Sport brand. So the end of the Renault Sport brand, been around since 1976, and that's a sad thing because I would be a big fan of the Renault Sport product. New data about tyre wear emissions. Tyre wear produces particulates. So we know this word particulates from exhaust emissions, small particles that float in the air. What this new data is revealing is that the particulates coming off tyre wear are suggested to be 2,000 times greater than the volume of particulates that will come out of a modern internal combustion engine. So again, this looks to be another massive environmental issue that the governments and manufacturers are starting to try and tackle. What they're saying is that if a vehicle increases its weight by 500 kilos, it would rise its emissions by 21%. So again, we'll have people say, well, what difference is it making? Who cares? And what harm is it? Well, it does harm. It harms humans, it harms plants, it harms animals, it contaminates the water table, and it contaminates the soil. So again, there are consequences from us allowing these contaminants to get into our air and our soil. And if you think about it, a new tyre starts off with 6 mil. And if you're from around our country, all that 6 mil gets used up. So where does it go? Where does it go? It goes into our air and it goes into our soil. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. And again, if you please could, as Richie described, these parts are the parts where I go begging. So I'm begging for you to please, if you could, like, comment and subscribe. A couple of comments there last week from a few guys, and thanks for that. It's great to get a few words of encouragement. So like, comment and subscribe, and please, if you could, hit the like button. Great stuff. See you next week.